All right. Okay, so y'all, we finished up this problem last Thursday. We did our frequency distribution, right? Took us a few minutes to do. I think the hardest thing with these problems, it's just they can be tedious, right? Having to sort through the numbers. That's really the hardest part. But what we're actually computing is not all that difficult. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, so we have something called the midpoint. And it says the midpoint of a class is the sum of the lower and upper limits of the class divided by 2. Um, and then we have something called the relative frequency. So the relative frequency, y'all, it's going to be basically like a decimal. It's going to be a percentage. We're going to take each of the frequencies and we're going to divide it by the sum of all the numbers that we have. I'll show you how we're going to do that in a second. And then the cumulative frequency, it's like we're adding them up. As we're going along, we're going to be adding our numbers. Okay, so I'll walk you through the process for this, y'all. So let me scroll down. I'm sorry, guys, about the way the notes came out. I was going through an actual paper copy of my notes before I came to class, and I was like, wow, man, the spacing got really thrown off. Okay, so here it says, find the midpoint, relative frequency, cumulative frequency of each class in problem number 1, and then input the following expanded frequency in the distribution. So y'all, what I mean by this, we're going to scroll back to our notes real quick. We are going to use this part right here, okay? So y'all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a couple of things. I'm going to copy the classes. I'm going to copy the classes, and I'm going to copy the frequencies, okay? So, y'all, if somebody can do me a big favor, if you look at this part on your paper, can you, or can anybody who wants to be a volunteer, can you tell me what the first class was? It was like 155 to something. Anybody remember? It was like 155 to 190. And there was what, 3 in there? Was that right? Was the frequency 3? Okay. And then wouldn't this one here, y'all, been 191 to how much? I'm sorry, to 2 what? 226. Thank you. And what was the frequency here, y'all? 2. And then I'm guessing this one was 227 to 262. And the frequency was 5. Thank you. And I'm guessing this is 263 to 298. Thank you so much. And the frequency? 6. And 299? 334. And the frequency? 7. And then I'm going to say this was 335 to 370. And the frequency was 4. Do we have any more? One more. Okay, so this is 371 to how much? 406. And the frequency? 3. Thank you so much. Okay, so y'all, all we're doing is we're just copying that part. We had already done it, right? We're just filling in this part. Okay, so now, y'all, what we're going to do, we're going to fill out 3 more columns. We're going to fill out what we call the midpoint, the relative frequency, and the cumulative frequency. The midpoint, y'all, the way we're going to find the midpoint, we're going to take those numbers right there. We're going to take 155. We're going to take 155 and we're going to add 190 and we're going to divide it by 2. We're really finding the average, the number in the middle of those two, okay? So look, y'all, I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. 155, let's add 190 to it. 345, let's divide this guy by 2, 172.5. So y'all, right here, I'm going to write 172.5, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and keep going down my column, y'all. So for the next one, look what we're going to add. We're going to add 191 plus 226. We're going to divide that by 2, and that's 208.5. Okay. Now, y'all, when we were here last Thursday, one of the things that we had talked about was the class width. And one way we had figured out the class width was if we subtracted those numbers, like what's 191 minus 195? So if I were to take my calculator, what's 191 minus 155? I'm sorry, 36. So if you remember, we said, look, we could just keep adding 36 down here to get those numbers. We could keep adding 36 to get those numbers. Y'all, it's also going to work for the midpoint. we can keep adding 36 to each of these numbers here, and I can continue to fill out the rest of that column. So if I don't feel like saying what's 227 plus 262 divided by 2, we can say what's 208.5, and let's add 36 to it, and that's 244.5. You see that a game that I'm playing now? So instead of me dividing by 2, we can just keep adding 36. So look, if we add 244.5, if we add another 36, that's 280.5. Okay. And if we add another 36, that's 316.5. And if we add another 36, that's 352.5. And if we play that game one last time, that's 388.5. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we can fill out the column for the relative frequency. So y'all, the way I'm going to find the relative frequency in stats, y'all, we use some different symbols. Okay. One of the symbols that we use, y'all, looks like this. It looks kind of like a funny looking E. And that funny looking E, y'all, is the Greek letter for sigma. And what this letter means, y'all, that letter means that we are going to add. So what I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to add up all of these numbers right here so we can figure out what our total is. Okay. So look, y'all, if I just clear my calculator and say, look, what's 3 plus 2 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 4 plus 3, that's giving us 30. Okay. So the sigma just says, hey, add up all the numbers in the frequency. What was the total number? The number was 30. The way we're going to find the relative frequency, y'all, is we're going to take each of these numbers here and we're going to divide them by the total. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to say, look, what's 3 divided by 30? 0.1. My relative frequency, my friends, is always going to be a decimal. If you think about 0.1, that would be like 10%. Okay. But that's in essence what we're doing. Let's do the same thing for the next one. Let's take 2 and divide it by 30. So y'all, when I come up with something like this, for the most part, in your homework, they're going to tell you round to the nearest whatever. Okay. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and go to 3 decimal places. So if I was going to go to 3 decimal places, look, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Should I leave this 6 alone or should I make it to a 7? What do you guys think? Make it to a 7. Why? Because anytime the number to the right of it is 5 or more, then we got to bump that guy up. Okay, so I'm going to go to 3 decimal places for right now, at least on that problem, y'all. So 0.067. Okay. Oops, sorry. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay, let's do it the next one. 5 divided by 30. 0.167. Right? 6 divided by 30. 0.2. Okay. 7 divided by 30. 0.233. Okay. 4 divided by 30. 0.133. And 3 divided by 30 again. Oh, look, we did that the first time. That's 0.1, right? I don't got to do it again. Okay. So now, y'all, for the next part here, cumulative frequency. Cumulative means we're going to start adding up the frequencies. So far in the first class, y'all, my frequency was 3. But the way we're going to get this number right here, y'all, we're going to add these 2 together. So 3 and 2, that's going to give us 5, right? We're accumulating, we're adding, we're going to keep going on. The way we're going to get to this one, y'all, we're going to add the next number in. Well, 3 and 2 gave us 5, and another 5 is going to give us 10, right? What do y'all think the next one's going to be? 16. Very good. Look, y'all, 16. 16 plus 7 should be something like 23. 23 plus 4 should be 27. And 27 plus 3, y'all, should be 30. My friends, those 2 numbers right there should add up. Okay? They should be adding up. Should be the same number. Okay, y'all, when you're doing your homework, you're going to have a problem almost identical to this one here. You're just going to be filling in the charts, okay? So look, let's try another one here. And y'all, again, I took this directly out of the homework. So it says, use the given frequency distribution to find the class width, the class midpoints, and something called the class boundaries. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, can you say that again? I'm sorry, I still can't hear you. On this one here? The red one. Okay, so remember what I was doing? I was taking each of these numbers and I was dividing them by how much? By 30, right? So that's all I did with each of those numbers. So look, let's pick 7. 7 divided by 30, 0.233. That's what I got right there. Better? Okay, good. Sorry, I just couldn't hear you. Okay, so look, y'all, let's take a look and see if we can figure out this one. So it's telling me, use the given frequency distribution to find the class width. So look, y'all, we wanted to find the class width. Now I'm looking at this piece right over here. The way we find the class width, we want to find the difference in any of those numbers, right? From here to here, from here to here, or you can even do the difference from there to there, right? So 36 minus 32, anybody know? 4, right? Boom, there's my class width, okay? Okay, so y'all, on this particular problem, again, the way I took it from my lab, it's asking me to complete the table. So what we're going to do right here, y'all, we're going to expand on this table. And we're going to do the midpoints, okay? And I'm going to try my best, y'all, to fit those numbers in where they belong, okay? So let's see. The midpoint, y'all, remember how we find the midpoint? We're going to take 32 plus 35, and we're going to divide them by 2. So let's do 32 plus 35, 67. We're going to divide that by 2, 33.5. So y'all, the first midpoint, 33.5, right? Okay, so y'all, remember how we can find the next midpoint. We can take 36 and add 39 and divide it by 2. Or if we already know that our class width is 4, we can just continue to add 4 to the first midpoint. So wouldn't the next one, y'all, be like something like 37 and a half? And the next one, 41 and a half? And 45 and a half? And 49 and a half? And 50, what? 3 and a half? And then one more should be what, 57.5? And there's my midpoints, right? Does that make sense? Pretty simple, right? Okay, now, y'all, the way we're going to find the class boundaries is like this. So look, I'm going to make another column right here, y'all, and we're going to call it the class boundaries. What we're going to do to find the class boundaries, y'all, is from the lower limits and the higher limits, we are going to subtract 0.5. Let me explain what I mean, y'all. Look at the first one. The first lower limit is 32. Think about this in terms of money. If I have $32 and I give you 50 cents, how much money do I have? $31.50. Okay, so my class boundary, y'all, the lower class boundary is going to be 31.5. The upper class boundary, y'all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the upper bound, which was 35, the upper limit, 35, and I'm going to add 50 cents to it. And that's going to give me 35.5. This is what we call the class boundaries, okay? 35.5. Now, y'all, my lower boundaries and my upper boundaries are going to overlap, okay? What I mean by that is if this upper boundary here is 35.5, the next one on the lower boundary will also be 35.5. And if this upper bound right here was 39, then we said that was going to be 39.5, right? I'm just adding a half to each of those, to the upper bounds, and I'm subtracting a half from the lower ones. So again, this one here, 39.5. This one here, 43.5. 43.5 again, and 47 and a half, and 47 and a half to 51 and a half, and 51 and a half to 55 and a half, and then finally 55 and a half all the way to 59.5, okay? And that's how we find the midpoints and how we find our class boundaries, okay? You're just subtracting 0.5 from the lower limits, adding 0.5 to the upper limits. Y'all, I'm going to scroll down a little bit further, okay? And let's see, I think, was that the same numbers? Yeah, it was same numbers, different numbers. Oops, sorry. It looks like they're different numbers, but I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's always the 0.5 added to the upper limit and always subtracted 0.5 to the lower limit. Yeah. This one here, 59, sorry, 59.5. Sorry about that. Yes, ma'am. No, for the class width, I'm subtracting this way. I'm saying what's 36 minus 32? Or what is 40 minus 36, right? Or you can even go this side. What is 59 minus 55? So you're either going to subtract the lower limits or you'll subtract the upper limits. I'm sorry, say that again. Oh, yes. Yeah, so you can also, 59 minus 32, right? That's what we said. We wanted to find the range, 59 minus 32, and then divide by the number of classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we divide that by 7, we get 3.85. And remember, we always have to round up to the next number. So it'd be 4, right? Excellent. That's another way you can definitely do it. Very good, very good. So let's take a look, y'all. I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm just trying to figure out, okay, it looks like it's the same kind of a table, and let me see what they want me to do. Looks like they want me to find things like, let's see, class boundaries. Let's go ahead and find midpoints again, y'all. We'll keep it simple. Let's see if we can find some midpoints. And let's see if we can find, I'm just going to abbreviate y'all, CB for the class boundaries, okay? So remember, y'all, if we want to find the midpoints, let's take 32 and 36. Let's add those together. Let's divide it by 2. And the midpoint happens to be 34, okay? So look, y'all, right here, I'm going to put a 34. And I think this one is big enough to where we can probably fit everything in maybe a little bit neater, okay? Does anybody know what's the class width? What's the class width here? 5, right? It's 5 because we're going to say what's 37 minus 32, and it's 5. So y'all, if the class width is 5, does anybody know what's the next midpoint? 39, right? Because we're just adding 5, right? Okay. What's 39 plus 5? 44, right? Boom, 44. And then wouldn't the next one be 49? Okay. And wouldn't the next one be 54? And then wouldn't the next one be 59? And then one last one, 64, right? Easy breezy, cover girl, a little bit better? Awesome, good. Okay, y'all, let's see if we can find the class boundaries. So remember, y'all, for the class boundaries, if the first number here is 32, if you had $32, but you spent 50 cents, how much money do you have now? $31.50. Okay. If you had $36, but I gave you 50 cents, wouldn't you now have $36.50? Okay. My friends, remember the next ones, there's going to be overlap here, right? So look, let's see if we can do this. Wouldn't this one here be 36.5? And wouldn't this one here be 41.5? Because I'm just adding 0.5 to every one of those numbers right over here. I'm just adding 0.5 to them, right? 31.5, we took this number 32 and we subtracted 0.5 from it, right? So we said, look, 32, and we're going to subtract 0.5. And that gave me 31.5. Okay. So I'm going to subtract 0.5 from each of these numbers, and I'm going to add 0.5 to each of those numbers. Okay. So y'all, would the next one here be 41.5? And then wouldn't this one here be 46.5? And then wouldn't this one here be 46.5? And that one be 51.5? And then 51.5 again? And 56 and a half? And 56 and a half? And 61 and a half? And then 61 and a half? And 66 and a half, right? So y'all, I do have just a little tiny paragraph right here about the class boundaries. So again, just so you know, y'all, subtract 0.5 from each of the lower limits and add 0.5 to each of the upper limits, right? So again, we were able to find the midpoint. We were able to find our class boundaries. All right. Y'all, I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Are we good? Can I scroll? Anybody need? Okay. Let's keep scrolling. We already did the class boundaries. Okay. So now, y'all, we're going to have something called a frequency histogram. It says a frequency histogram uses bars to represent the frequency distribution of a data set. Okay, and it says the horizontal scale is the quantitative and measures the data entries. The vertical scale measures the frequencies of these classes, and consecutive bars must touch. So it says because consecutive bars in a histogram must touch, bars must begin and end at the class boundaries instead of the class limits. Okay, I'll explain that in a minute, y'all. Let's see. So let me scroll down here. Here we go. Okay, it says, can we construct a frequency histogram using the frequency table in the first problem, the one we did, the one where we made that big chart with a little while ago, and label the horizontal scale with class boundaries? Okay, so y'all, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to scroll to this problem right here. Okay, so y'all, when I'm going to look at this particular problem, what I want to do is we're going to use the data that we have here to make something we call the histogram. So y'all, I want you to think about for a second these numbers right here. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So y'all, we're going to make basically a histogram is going to be like a bar graph. We're going to have 7 bars. Okay. The numbers on the edge on the left side are going to be our lower class boundaries. So y'all, if this number here is 155, what do you think the lower class boundary would be if we subtracted 0.5 from that number? Anybody know? So look, if we take our calculator, right, we say, look, 155, and we subtract 155, and we subtract 0.5 from it, 154.5, right? Remember, we're just thinking about it in terms of money. If I have $155 and I spend 50 cents, I now got $154.50, right? So look, y'all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here, okay? And I'm going to make this number right here, y'all, 154.5. Does anybody know, if you look at your notes, right, what was the upper class limit on that one? It was 155. Was it 190? 190. So then what do you think the upper class limit's going to be? 190.5. Very good. Okay. Now, y'all remember the lower class limit for the next one, it should have been 191. So then that means that lower bound is 190.5, right? What is the next upper class limit? You see what I'm saying? Like what I want y'all to do, y'all, is come back over here. Let's scroll. So look, y'all, if this is 226, wouldn't the next one be 226.5? Do you see what I'm saying? Am I losing you guys? Or are we okay? We're good? Okay, just checking. Everybody got real quiet. Okay, y'all, what's the next one? What would the next one be? 261.5? Okay, and what about the one after that? So what after the 261, what's the next upper class limit, right? So look, y'all, if I come back over here, so look, if it was 260, shouldn't this one have been 262 and a half? Right? So look, let's fix that real quick. All right, let's change this guy to 262 and a half, right? 262 and a half. And then if I scroll back down, sorry, I'm having to scroll so much. Wouldn't the next one be 298.5? So y'all, remember what I'm looking at? I'm looking at what are these upper class boundaries going to be, right? So look, we had 154 and a half. The next one should have been 190.5, 226.5, 262.5, 298.5, 334.5, 370.5, 406.5, right? Okay. So are we doing okay so far? After 262 and a half, what was the next one? 200 and something? 298.5. What about the one after that? 334.5. Okay, I'm going to make my bar a little bit longer because I'm running out of room. What about the one after that? Very good. And then one more, maybe? 406.5. Okay, y'all, what we're going to do now is we're going to make bars, okay? So let's do it like this, y'all. Let me scroll back one more time. Sorry, I'm having to scroll back so much, okay? Look, y'all, our frequency, it looks like the lowest frequency we had was a 2, and the highest one we had was a 7, right? So why don't we do this? When we come back to our chart, okay? When we come back to our chart, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? Okay, the first bar, the first column, was not the frequency for the first one, y'all, 2, right? So look, y'all, I'm going to make a bar. My bar is going to look like this, up at 2. If I remember correctly, wasn't the next one 3? In the next, if I look back at that chart, was the next one 3? Anybody remember? Or was it also 2? The first one was 2, right? Oh, the first one was 3? Okay. Second one was 2. Okay, my bad, y'all. Sorry about that. First one was 3. Second one was 2. Okay, what about the third one? I'm sorry? 5. Okay, so look, y'all, I'm going up to 5. Okay. What about the one after that? 6. So a little bit higher. Okay. The one after that? 7. Boom. The highest that we're going to have. Okay. After 7, what did we go to? 4. Okay. Right about here is 4. Okay. After 4, what was the last one? 3. Boom. And all we did, y'all, is make a bar graph. right? With 3, 2, was this one 5? Sorry, the third one. Was it 5 or 6? 5, right? 6, 7, 4, and 3 again. Boom. That's all we did. Make a bar graph, right? That's all it asked us to do. Okay. All right. Now, y'all, look, I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a new bar graph. Y'all, the bar graph is going to look almost identical to the one we did right now. The only thing that's going to change are the numbers that we have going up and down. So instead of me going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So look, y'all, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to extend this out a little bit. I'm still going to put my 154.5, my 190.5, our 226.5, our 262.5, our 298.5, our 334.5, okay, our 370.5, and our 406.5. Still going to have that there. But the part that's going to be different here, y'all, I'm going to scroll back to my original problem right here, okay? On the vertical axis, y'all, these are the numbers that we're looking at. So if I look at this, it looks like the biggest one might be something like 0.233. The smallest one looks like it's, I don't know, maybe 0.067, something like that, okay? So y'all, what I'm going to do real quick is, let me try this. I'm going to take a quick picture here just so I have access to this on my phone as I need it. Okay, and let me come back here. Boom. Okay, boom, boom. All right. So now, when I come to make this bar, y'all, okay, so lowest number, 0.06, highest number, I don't know, 0.233. How about if we do something like this, y'all? 0.5, 1.0, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, and then maybe one more, 3.0. So the first bar, y'all, was something like 0.1. Y'all, if this is down here, this is 0. 0.5 would look something like, or 0.1 would look something like that, okay? 0.067, y'all, it's even smaller. Boom. There it is right there. Even shorter, right? Because 0.067, if you think about the first one is like 10%, 0.067, that's like 6.7%, right? So it's smaller than 10. The next one, something like 0.167. So might be a little bit bigger. Boom. 0.2, that's even bigger. Okay. 0.233, a little bit bigger. 0.133, right about here. Okay. And then finally, y'all, the last one, 0.1, back to what it was right before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there are my bars. And y'all, if you look, I mean, the numbers are a little different, but it has the same basic shape. Okay. And this is what we call a relative frequency histogram. The only thing that's different, y'all, is the scaling that we have here. Okay. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have them now as decimals, right? We have them now as decimals. Okie dokie artichokes. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Okay. And let's see if we can do a couple of things here, y'all. We're going to answer some questions based on this histogram. So, y'all, I know that when I made y'all's copies, because I was looking at a paper copy before I came to class, it doesn't come out in blue. It comes out really, really, really black. But you can see up here it's in blue. And what we're going to try to do, y'all, we're going to try to estimate a couple of things. So number one, the first thing it's asking me to do is, can we find the number of classes? Y'all, to find the number of classes, we're just going to count the number of bars. So if I were to count the number of bars, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the number of classes, y'all, 7. Okay. Estimate the greatest and the least frequencies. What they're asking me to do, my friends, is can we guess what is the lowest bar, what's the number for the lowest bar, and what's the number for the highest bar? So y'all, if I were to look at, say, the first bar here, would you guys agree that the first bar is probably the lowest one? Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to do a little zoom so I can see a little bit better. Look, y'all, if this here is 0 and that's 50, that's got to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What number would you all estimate this to be here? If you were just going to take a guess. 25. Boom. That seem reasonable? It's between 20 and 30. It's 25, right? All I'm doing is looking, right? Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. Y'all, it looks like this bar over here is the highest one. So look, if this is 250, 260, 270, 280, what would y'all estimate this one here to be? 281. Perfect. Okay. So the least frequency was 25, and the greatest frequency about 281. Okay. Y'all, the way this bar graph or this histogram is set up, they have not given us the class boundaries. They've actually labeled the midpoints. So look, here are each of the midpoints. And if we wanted to find the class width, y'all, what we could do is just take the difference and any of those two consecutive midpoints. So if we were to say something like, what's 37 minus 32? Wouldn't our class width just be 5? Okay. So we're going to go 5. Okay. Now, y'all, for part D, it's going to ask us, hey, are there any patterns? Yo, just like we labeled the smallest bar and we labeled the highest bar, let's go ahead and label each of the bars and see if there's anything we can figure out from here, okay? So look, y'all, I'm going to scroll in again, okay? And let's see if we can figure out how much, what's the number that correlates to the second bar. So look, y'all, if that's 100, that's 110, that's 120, it looks like we're just shy under 120. What would you guys guess? 119. Perfect. Okay. Let's see if we can do the third one. So look, y'all, if this is 250, this is 260, it looks like we're just a hair under 270. What would you guess that to be? 268, something like that, right? We're estimating here, guys. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? But when we say estimate, it means we're going to take a guess, but we're going to take a good guess, right? So if you said like 269, 267, something like that, 266, that's fine. But if you something like 200, that's off, right? So we want to take guesses, but good guesses. Let's see if we can figure out the rest of the other ones. So let's see if we can estimate this one. Look, y'all, that's 150. Make sure I'm on the same track. 150, 160, 170, 180. What about 181 maybe? Again, it's just a little bit higher. Okay. Yo, if this guy here is 50, this one looks like it's right about 60 maybe. And what do you think the last one could be? 65. Excellent. Before I go on, are we cool in how we came up with those numbers? Anybody got any questions how we came up with them? What did we do? We just looked at it, right? Again, guys, we're not looking to be 100% accurate. We're looking for an estimate. What I want to do now is let's figure out what is the total number of numbers that we had here. What I mean by that, my friends, let's add up each of those bars. So look, 25, 119, okay, 268, 281, okay, 181, okay, and then 60, and then 65. So it looks like our total is just under 1,000, right? 999. If we wanted to say 1,000, that's okay too, right? we could say 1,000 because again, we were estimating here, right? We were guessing at these numbers. Okay, now we want to know, these are going to be my choices, y'all, for our answers for part D. Okay, so we want to guess here. Look what it says. Most of the employees make less than 34,000 or more than 60,000. Okay, so let's see if that's accurate. Y'all, I'm going to come back over here. Less than 34,000. Y'all, between 32 and 37. Sorry, I'm getting my calculator real quick. You know what? Let me do it right here. What's between 32 and 37? If we added those together, let's go like that. Let's divide it by 2. 34 and a half. Okay, so right about here, y'all, just a little less would be 34, and 60,000 would be somewhere about this range. Okay, I want you to look at the statement. It says most people make either here or here. Does that seem like that's accurate to you? What do you think? Look at all my bars, right? Does it look like most people make in this range or in that range? What would you say? No, right? That doesn't seem accurate at all. Okay. Boom. Let's get rid of that guy. We obviously know that that's not correct. Okay. About half of the employees are between 50 and 59. Okay. So look, y'all, about half the people would be between 50 and 59. Does it look like half the people are in this area right here? No. Let's get rid of that too. Okay. All right. Look at the third one. About half of the employees' salaries are between 40 and 49. So right here, this is roughly about 40. This is roughly about 49. So y'all, if I wanted to know, is that accurate? They're basically asking me, hey, do those two bars basically represent half of the total population? I don't know. What is 268 plus 281? That's 549. Y'all, roughly, is 549 roughly, is that about half of 1,000? It's about half, right? So far, I'm kind of digging this guy right here, okay? All right, less than half of the employees make between 35 and 59. So less than half make between here and here. No, that's definitely not right. So what choice looks like it's the right one? It looks like the third choice was the one we needed to go with, right? But y'all, what I want to point out was in order for me, I'm just going to kind of zoom out to get everything on the same page. In order for me to be able to choose, well, which one of these was correct, I couldn't just say, let me look at the bars and figure it out, right? I really needed to know what was all of my numbers so that we could then find our total, right? And then we could go through it and we could say, look, the first time they were saying nearly everybody made here. We're like, okay, you know what? We didn't necessarily need to do the numbers to know that. We could tell that wasn't true. More than half make between, all right, I forgot which one it was, right? But we could, you understand my point? We kind of needed to get those numbers so we could do the calculation, right? Because again, about half of the employees, sometimes just looking at the bars, it's not so easy to tell that this is half of the total, right? Unless I know what each of those numbers are, find the total, find what those two add up to, and then I can say, yeah, look, 549, that's about half of 1,000, right? Not exactly half, but it's about half, right? Okay, y'all, let's take a look at this one over here. This problem, y'all, again, I'm taking a lot of these things directly out of your homework. So look what it says. A nurse measured the blood pressure of each person who visited her clinic. There is a relative frequency histogram for the systolic blood pressure readings for those people between ages 25 and 40. The blood pressures readings were given to the nearest whole number. Identify the center of the third class. Y'all, they're just asking me, can we find the midpoint of the third bar? So y'all, what do you think? Look, this is bar 1, this is bar 2, this is bar 3. What number do you think is going to be right there? Somebody said it. 125. Wasn't that easy breezy, cover girl? Of course it was, right? All you had to do was look at the picture. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at this one. So, y'all, it says a city in the Pacific Northwest recorded its highest temperature at 93 degrees and the lowest temperature at 24 degrees for a particular year. Use this information to find the upper and lower limits in degrees Fahrenheit for the first class if we wanted to make a frequency distribution using 10 classes. Okay, so y'all, if we're going to find the range, right, the lower limits and upper limits for the first class, the first thing we need to do is we need to find the range. Okay, y'all, the range is going to be the biggest number minus the smallest number. So we're going to take 93 minus 24. That's going to give us 69. Okay. Number two, we're going to find the number of classes. Now, they told us that there was going to be 10 classes, right? So number three, y'all, when we're going to find the class width, we're going to take the range and divide it by the number of classes. So we're going to take 69 divided by 10. That's going to be 6.9. Our class width, y'all, is going to be 7. Okay. So now what we're looking for is, can we find the upper and lower limits? So if the lowest number, y'all, was 24, okay, I need to find what is this number going to be here. Well, I know that the next one, y'all, if we took 24 and we added 7 to that, I know that this guy would be 31, which tells me that this number here would have to be, what, 30? So my first lower limits and upper limits in my first class, y'all, would be 24 to 30. Does that make sense on how we're able to find that out? Did I go too fast, y'all, or am I okay? Huh? Yes. Are we okay in how we got the range? By taking the biggest number and the smallest? Good. Then it told me, can we find the number of classes, right? Well, it's really nice because they told me it was going to be 10. The way we find the class width is we take the range divided by the number of classes. So we took 69 divided by 10, gave us 6.9. We always round up. So y'all, one thing I want to mention, I know we got 6.9, but had we gotten 6.2, we still would have gone to 7, okay? Because it's always rounding up to the next whole number, okay? And then once we knew that our class width was 7, since the first number here was going to be 24 because that was my lowest number, if I added 7 to that, that told me that my lower limit for my second class would have had to have been 31. So that would have meant that my upper limit, my first class, would have had to have been the number before, which would have been 30. Excellent questions. All right. Y'all, I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Okay. And we're going to do another problem, y'all. Again, these problems coming directly out of your homework, okay? So, y'all, the problem here says the data represents the time in minutes spent reading a political blog on a particular day. Construct a frequency distribution using 5 classes. In the table, include the midpoints, the relative frequencies, the cumulative frequencies, and then which class has the greatest frequency and which one has the least. Okay, so y'all, first thing we need to figure out is we need to find our class limits. In order for us to do that, y'all, step number 1, we need to find the range. Okay, so let's do this. Step number 1, let's find our range. Y'all, we need to look for the biggest number in our list here. What is the biggest number in our list? 49. Very good. What about the smallest number? 0. Okay, so 49 minus 0, y'all, is still 49. Okay. Now, number 2, the number of classes. Did they tell us how many classes we were going to have? They told us we're going to have 5. Very good, y'all. Okay. So y'all, if we're going to find number 3, our class width, sorry. If we're going to find our class width, we're going to take the range divided by the number of classes. Okay. So y'all, that's going to be 49 divided by 5. Get my calculator, 49 divided by 5. 9.8, everybody agree 10? Okay. So look, y'all, when I start to fill this in, this number here is going to be 0, right? Because it's always going to be the lowest number. Now, I know that when I start to do this again, y'all, and I'm going to make my bars a little bit bigger just because it's easier for me to write it out, then I know the next number here would have been 10, right? What would the number over here need to be? 9. Okay. Y'all, what we are going to do now is we are going to look at the numbers that we have in that green box. We want to count how many numbers are between 0 and 9, meaning how many single digit numbers do we have? In the first column, none. In the second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody agree 6? Okay. The midpoint, y'all. Remember how we find the midpoint? We're going to take these two numbers, we're going to add them together. Sorry. We're going to take those two numbers, 0 plus 9, still 9. We're going to cut it in half, 4.5. This number right here, my friends, 4.5. Okay. The relative frequency, y'all. The relative frequency is always going to be a decimal. Okay. What I need to figure out is how many different numbers did we have here? Well, let's do it like this. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 times 5, isn't that 20? There's a total of 20 numbers. Y'all, the way we find the relative frequency, we take our calculator, we said, look, let's take 6 and divide it by the total, which was 20. That's going to be 0.3. That's why I wrote right here that my relative frequency, y'all, is always going to be a decimal. Okay, the cumulative frequency. So far, how many numbers did we scratch out? 6. Okay, let's do the same thing, y'all, for the next part. So look, y'all, if this is 10, my next number here is going to be 19. What I want to do is I want to count how many numbers are in the teens, okay? So let's see if we can count how many numbers are in the teens. In the first column, none. 1, 2, just 2? Okay. The midpoint. Y'all, do you remember what the class width was? Anybody remember what the class width was? We did it over here. 10. So remember, y'all, to find your midpoint for the next one, you can just add 10 to that. So 4.5 plus 10, wouldn't that be 14.5? Okay. Now, our relative frequency. Remember, y'all, we're going to take this number and we're going to divide it by the total. Wasn't the total 20? So let's take 2. Let's divide it by 20, 0.1. Boom, that's going to go right here. My cumulative frequency. My friends, so far, how many numbers have we scratched out in total? 8. Boom. Everybody agree? How'd you get 8? We added these two folks together. Okay. Look, y'all, if the first ones are 0 to 9 and the next one are in the teens, right? 10 to 19, wouldn't these be 20 to 29? Okay. Let's go through our list. Let's scratch out all the numbers in the 20s. In the first column, there's 1. Nothing in the second, nothing in the third. 1, 2, 3. So that's a total of 3. And then one more, a total of 4. So 4 numbers in the 20s. Okay. Anybody know what my midpoint is? There you go. I could have stayed home. Okay. My relative frequency, y'all, remember, it's going to be the frequency divided by the total. So let's figure out what's 4 divided by 20. 0.2. Okay. Cumulative frequency. How many numbers have we scratched out so far? There you go. Excellent. Guys, is this getting any easier? Is this problem any easier than the ones we've done so far? What do you think? You know what I think makes this problem a little bit easier? Look at the numbers that we're looking for. They're either the single digit numbers, they're numbers in the teens, they're numbers in the 20s. My next one is going to be numbers in the what? In the 30s. And that makes it easier instead of me looking for numbers between, say, 144 and 278. You know what I'm saying? It makes it a little bit easier. So now we're looking for numbers in the 30s. Y'all, in the first column, there's 1. Nothing in the second, 2 so far, 3 and 4. So 4 here. Everybody agree this number here is going to be 34.5? Anybody know what this number is going to be? Still 0.2 because it was 0.2 the time before. How many numbers have we scratched so far? 16. Very good. Okay. My last one, y'all, is going to be numbers in the 40s, right? So again, if we were to come back and say, how many numbers do we have in the 40s? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Okay. Wouldn't this one here also be 44 and a half? Wouldn't this number here also be 0.2? And how many numbers did we scratch in total? There you go. And you got it. Okay. Okay. Y'all, just a couple more and we'll take a little break, okay? Look at this next problem, guys. What is my class width? Anybody know? If we take the difference, 3. Okay. All right. What is the midpoint of the first class? Y'all, what number is between 50 and 52? There you go. Okay. The class boundaries of the first class. If you had $50 and you spent 50 cents, how much money would you have now? $49.50. And if you had $50 and you $52, I'm sorry, and you found another 50 cents, wouldn't you have 52 and a half? And there you go. All right. That's all we had to do. Just all it asks us, what's the class width? What was the midpoint of the first one? What were the boundaries of the first one? Okay. All right. That was the last problem. So let's do this, y'all. Let me stop recording. Boom. Let's stop.